Hi everyone, I'm just going live. I've got a few minutes. I'm just waiting for a friend to turn up. And I thought I'd speak to everyone, talk about the markets or fund management, asset management, changing careers, entrepreneurship, any of the subjects that I know a little bit about. So if you've got any questions, do ask me. One of the things which was interesting recently was I talked about a friend of mine who's the CEO of a hedge fund and discussed how much luck is important in life and success. And that TikTok video got 172,000, actually no more, over 200,000 views. And it seems that people want to know, especially from somebody old like me, what worked in life and what didn't. Certainly from my experience. Well, I did a TED talk recently, and the title of the talk was, "If You're So Clever, Why Aren't You Rich?" And it was more important than that. It was about, if you're so clever, why aren't you happy? So what are the factors which go into happiness, which go into, and I looked at the academic research, which go into wealth creation, and how relevant were input factors such as IQ, spending habits, personality traits. And one of the things which was interesting was that whilst IQ was correlated to average incomes, as you'd expect, very high IQs at the extremities led actually to the opposite effect. You became poorer. Maybe people with extremely high IQs felt they could always make it back and therefore were more risk-loving and spent more money. Anyway, they were less likely to be rich. However, there is a general correlation between IQ and income. However, here's the interesting thing. Whilst IQ can't be altered, I mean, you can train for tests, personality is something which can be altered. And some of the academic research shows that your personality, which can be altered, can lead to higher levels of income. And the traits that the academic research found, so as I say, this was from my TED talk, and the research that I did on If You're So Clever, Why Aren't You Rich?, found that certain personality characteristics led to greater income. And those characteristics were the ones you might expect, but this was backed by academic research: persistence, an attitude of positivity towards the work, a belief that you would actually succeed, you would learn. Generally, a positive outlook led to greater success, according to the academic research. So whilst IQ, which is what we might be measuring in schools when we're looking at grades and so on, leads to better grades, but it doesn't necessarily lead to greater income. Income was more linked to personality factors. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing that those things are changeable. Attitude being critical to success. And you hear people saying all the time, "Oh, attitude determines your altitude," blah, blah, blah. And it all sounds so, well, a bit American, no offense, and a bit bit pie in the sky. But in actual fact, the academic research shows that you can overcome IQ and grade problems to some extent. The other thing that the research found was when people got richer, they didn't actually get happier beyond a certain level of income. Now, the research showed, however, as I said, this was from my TED talk on If You're So Clever, Why Aren't You Rich? And Happy. What they found is that the happiest people who increased their income were the ones who were willing to spend a little bit of money, not large sums from what they've earned, on small things which improved their experiences and freed up their time. An example being that a lot of people who made money became tighter and less charitable, were less likely to employ cleaners and so on to free up their own time, and therefore didn't improve their happiness. So that whole argument, money can't buy you happiness, actually it's more nuanced than that. Money can buy you happiness, it's just that the people with a lot of money chose not to purchase happiness with it. And what was happiness? According to the research, don't shoot the messenger, was spending on experiences, including family time, and also spending on things which freed up your time, like cleaners and cooks and the like, when you could afford it. So that was interesting in terms of what you should be doing with the money as you go. So, more questions. Best way to describe retail assistance. Not sure what that means. Do you agree governments don't rule the world, Goldman Sachs rules the world? No, I know people from Goldman Sachs and they don't rule the world. I mean, if you've got some data to the contrary. I had lunch with the course I could be in on the conspiracy and part of the Illuminati. I had lunch with the then chairman of Goldman Sachs Asset Management, Jim O'Neill, and he left and does other things, joined government. It doesn't really look like somebody who's running the world. Can you see a financial crash? No, I wish I could. Will you be back in UK in September? I will. Your view, how strong Burberry is a brand? I think it's a very strong brand. Am I Muslim? No, I'm Hindu. I really want to get into financial sector of Goldman Sachs. Best way to get there, apply directly to them. Look at the CVs of people on LinkedIn who are there. Another one, am I Muslim? No, I'm Hindu. What do you get? What did I get at A levels? 3 A's, best performance in my school for A level. I'm really proud of that. Maths, physics, chemistry. Hi Alpesh, just wanted to say I saw you in Kingston recently. I was very star-struck. You rock. Thank you very much. You're very kind. What school did you finish? Would you say it's very important? Which school? So I went to, my first school was a school called Christchurch, which was primary school. It's in Armley. Armley is where I was born, in Leeds. And my next school was at Armley Middle School, which if you know where Armley Prison is, we're next door to it. And that's Armley Middle School. And I'm still in touch with my former headmaster, a lovely chap called Colin Trenholm. And my final school was a school called Full Neck Boys School, which was in just outside of Leeds on the way to Bradford. What's the average monthly return for top performers pull off? Average monthly return your top performers pull off. My top performers of what? What are the best investments I can make as a 21-year-old? Well, it's a bit cliched, and I guess Warren Buffett says it well, but you know, invest in your own education, particularly communication skills. And actually, he says it, and he's bloody right in all my years of experience. He did a Carnegie course, a Dale Carnegie course, when he was young, and I think he was rejected by Harvard or dropped out of Harvard, was Warren Buffett. I'd say learn the skills of communication, which means writing and verbal. If you can learn to speak better, if you can learn to write better, so read about what is rhetoric, what they used to teach in the old Greek schools, you'll be more useful and have more transferable skills. You're more likely to get what you want in life. I've never met a leader, which is basically somebody who gets others to do what they want and make them think they want to do it. I have never ever met a leader who wasn't good at verbal or written communication. Those are the two most important things you can learn. And as a 21-year-old, the absolute best investment you can make, and if I were you, I would look at every single, because I did, every single book on the greatest speeches, what the components of great speeches and great writing are, what are the rhetorical tricks employed. Sounds like tricks, but you need to know all of that and you will do so much better. How did I get into stock trading? Well, I was 12 years old. My family didn't have a lot of money. So I borrowed £100 from my aunt, and we used to live opposite a post office, and they had these free leaflets on government bonds. And so I took these leaflets because they were free, read about it, saw that if I invested in them, I'd get a bit better return than when I started. And I thought, this is ridiculous. I can go to school and somebody pays me money. Obviously then it was just the government paying me dividend interest. And that's how I got into it. It was very Marxist of me. Basically, I realized that workers work to pay capital, which obviously Karl Marx didn't like the look of, and it's unfair because capital keeps getting paid and the workers have to keep working. So I thought, well, that obviously makes sense to be capital then and not a worker. So that's when I first decided that I really want to be capital, and I didn't have any capital and I wanted to help my family. So I borrowed this £100 from my aunt and then got into it, and then the privatizations came along and I bought shares. Obviously as a school child I couldn't be a worker if I wanted to. I've had jobs cleaning toilets, being a waiter and all the rest of it, and I can tell you it's far better being capital than it is being a worker, because a worker necessarily gets paid less than the return the capital is making on most occasions, and therefore I'd rather be the person who gets the full returns of their efforts, i.e. be capital. And certainly I felt it was better for my family. My mum was an NHS nurse. Well, I'd rather own the nursing home, which is what my family eventually did. What do you think of Amway business? I don't know. I don't know it at all. Thanks for the content. Advice on finding a wife, please. Yeah, Warren Buffett and other research on this shows. Friends walked in. That's fine, Deepa. What was it? Just a TikTok live.
You don't need to finish up?
No, don't worry. You carry on. It's an hour shot. They won't see you. So, what do I think of, I lost track of what the question was. You'll have to ask me the question again. What do you think of buy-to-let? Whilst being Indian, my family is better at buy-to-let than I am. I think they've really wrecked the market though, in the UK at least. I don't think it makes much sense anymore, it used to do. I'm an incoming freshman who is super interested in finance. Could I work with you? Yeah, drop me, the links are in the bio. I've got internships open, so just have a look at the links in the bio and you'll see that. What's your advice to get out of the 9-to-5 rat race? Plan, plot, work it out. If you're desperate enough, you'll always find a solution to something in life. Somebody once asked Warren Buffett, how do I become a billionaire? And he said, well, if you need to ask. And that's the point of it. If you're really desperate enough, you'll find a solution. What do you think of institutional equity sales as a job? I think it pays well, so it depends where you start off. If you are looking for the money and you don't mind what job you do, then institutional equity sales is a pretty good one to do. But I'd always be plotting in any of those jobs to build up my networks and thinking what I might want to do in my own way as well. What's the name of my fund? Have a look at the links in the bio. It's not open to retail because we only take institutional clients now. In fact, private equity funds and hedge funds can't take retail clients by law. Advice on starting a journey to become an MP. Approach the party and sign up to the list. The one thing that they want from MPs, whether it's Labour or Conservative, is somebody of good judgment. Good judgment, good credentials, obviously can speak well, those things. They can train you up for those. Judgment is very difficult to train up. They want people, and it's not just MPs, and you might say, well, they're doing a pretty poor job of it. That's a separate issue. They want people who've got good judgment. Good judgment is bloody difficult to find in life. If you find people with good judgment, oh, that was it, you asked, what advice on finding a wife? The research I did for my TED talk on If You're So Clever, Why Aren't You Rich, found that one of the most important components to success in life and fulfillment and wealth creation was the spouse, whether it's male or female, was the spouse you had. And Warren Buffett says this as well. You've got 5 decisions in life to make. Make them carefully, make them right. And one of the critical ones is the right wife. And the best way to find the right wife is to know yourself better, know what's important to you, and read a lot about what makes a good marriage. In my experience, not holding on and trying to control the other person is probably a good tip. At that point, my wife has walked in. Oh dear Lord. You don't need to whisper. It's just a live. I can leave. We're all sitting out. I think we're all going to watch a movie now. What age did you quit your job, my worker job, as a waiter? Well, I was doing it whilst I was training to be a barrister. So it wasn't sort of that I quit. It was that it was part-time work whilst I was training to be a barrister. So it worked in tandem, and then I finished my training. Advice for a 16-year-old dream is to be a partner at a hedge fund one day. I'd say find out what you're about, what makes you happy and makes you fulfilled. Do some work experience as well. You know, 16, I thought I wanted to be a barrister. And then I started doing the work and thought, actually I don't. Life's too short. I really want to do something more fulfilling, more creative, more where I'm in control of my life and not be beholden to solicitors and so on. So you might think you want to be a partner at a hedge fund. I certainly don't want to be. I don't like all the fundraising and everything else. But you might not. At 16, I'd be surprised. That is actually, if that is what you want to be. Did you ever meet Rishi Sunak during his hedge fund days? No, I didn't. But then again, the hedge fund was quite insular in that we just get on with our own things. We go to lots of conferences. I don't think I met him. I didn't meet him at Oxford either. Dream to be a hedge fund owner. Advice at 35. I think I was 35 when I launched mine. I was 34 or 35 when I launched mine. So do it. Work out the bits. We went to Simmons & Simmons as the law firm. They actually did all the hard work, made us look clever, because they said, well, you want a Cayman equity long-short fund, you want a UK FCA regulated firm, so I acquired one, and you need a strategy, and here's a pitch deck, and here are all the rules from AMA, the Alternative Investment Management Association, AMA, and so on. Got the right people, but the most difficult thing is finding capital. Any advice to 20-year-old legal counsel looking to break into tech? Yeah, hang around a lot of people who are already involved in tech, make relationships with them, friends with them, join the associations they're part of. Do I know Kenny Griffin? I don't, I'm afraid. Do you guys want to start the movie? I can start. Oh, okay, I better start. Don't want to. Shall I swing around? Do you want to come on camera? My wife's going to kill me. She's in pajamas. No makeup, you see. Blokes don't matter. Mind about that. I put makeup on when I'm going on the BBC. Right, one last question I'm going to ask. You find a good movie. What's the movie? Exactly, somebody's asked, what's the movie? Is it a scary movie? What's your favourite scary movie? This is going to get like crazy now. Marching on together. Yes, you follow me. And we won yesterday against Wolves. Can you believe it? I'm so relieved. Thoughts on Forex? Forex is difficult. Forex is not easy. 70-80% lose. Look up Bill Lipschutz. Bill taught me what I know about Forex. He was global head of foreign exchange trading at Salomon Brothers. Is it difficult to find a strategy? No. Strategies are to a penny. It's difficult to raise the capital. Think about it. You can get clever people. Go to the maths department at Oxford University. You'll find trading strategies all work. That's not the problem. Raising capital, that's the problem. And that's so much, it's so difficult. Thoughts on DLA Piper? Fantastic firm from what I know. I knew people who were there. Bill who? Lipschutz, Lipschutz. There's an interview I did with him before I became a fund manager, because he became a mentor of mine, and it was published by the Financial Times in book format in my book, and the links are in the bio, and you'll be able to download a free copy of the interview. Actually, I think the whole book as well. I said look up Bill, sorry, it's not your fault, it's mine, Bill Lipschutz, but the links are in the bio for the book and the interview. So he was global head of Forex trading at Salomon Brothers. Would I diversify ETFs or just pick one? Depends on the ETF, you see, because now they're so concentrated by obviously geography, style, and product. So you could have, Japanese tech, So I'd say, yeah, if it's too concentrated, then you might want to. All right, 3 wife sisters here as well. So we've got 3 people now ready for the movie. PPE book recommendations. Okay, brilliant question. PPE book recommendation. I've just done this, and somebody I'm helping to get into Oxford. Thinking Strategically, Avinash Dixit. Thinking About Thinking, Anthony Flew. Okay. In Defense of Politics, Bernard Crick. On Liberty, John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill on Liberty, Bernard Crick, In Defense of Politics. Anthony Flew, Thinking About Thinking. Thinking Strategically, Avinash Dixit. On the philosophy side, anything by Bertrand Russell, obviously, will get you a good start. Thinking Fast and Slow, well, it's a Nobel Prize winner by, I think this is his best book, Daniel Kahneman's, wasn't it? There's other books by Daniel Kahneman. Economic book recommendations. Yeah, the one that I gave, Avinash Dixit's on game theory. BA in Finance, can I apply for an internship at your fund? Yeah, links are in the bio, and you'll see the names and so on in there, so happy to help on that front. Can you guys still hear me? Everyone's watching TV, and I'm about to join them when they find out, when I find out who. Currently doing a BA major in finance. You've answered that one. One new message. Internship fund, yeah. So, is working experience at DLA Piper valuable at 16? Yeah, absolutely it is. You'll make you decide whether or not you want to be a solicitor. IG Index, do they hedge against client open position? So the way IG Index work is, brokers like IG, CMC, they used to be like estate agents. They'd match buyers and sellers and take a commission in the middle. Then they realized that 70 to 80% of their clients lose money. So let's be like the casino. We'll just unwind the positions. You get a whole load of buyers, a whole load of sellers, and we'll just take it on our books because we'll make money. And sometimes we'll move the price they can get out at because we can unwind the position and still make a profit. So in one sense, they bet against you. They're not what's called straight through processors. And ideally you want an STP, but if you don't have a straight through processor, they're okay, just be careful. Can you do a separate video on all the books you recommend for beginners to get into a hedge fund? Yeah, I can do better than that. I've put them in an online course, which is completely free. If you look at the links in the bio, you'll see the books if you want to become a hedge fund manager, and also interview questions if you want to become a hedge fund manager, what a CV should look like, and so on. The links are in the bio. You'll need to go to the trading online course, I think, and it's completely free, so is the investing one. The reason I did those 3 courses is because I have written 18 books on trading and investing, published by the Financial Times and Macmillan and the like. I had all the videos from my Bloomberg TV show. I had my Financial Times columns, and I thought, you know what? Nobody's going to read any of this anymore unless I make it online and put little videos. So it's all completely free. You'll see it there. Links are in the bio, and you'll see the books if you want to become a fund manager, and so on. Taking out a loan to trade is a stupid idea. Yeah, I'm afraid it is. It's not good because you're adding leverage to something which is also a high risk. I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, thank you, Tom. Retail futures trader here, looking to scale up and take my skill set to a more professional level. Absolutely, the way to do it is you need a track record. With a track record, you might be able to get friends and family to invest in you. Don't forget, setting up a fund is like setting up any other business. You know, you might be selling, I don't know, household knickknacks. A hedge fund is no different to that. What you've got to do is get friends and family on board first, I'm afraid. Would you ever go into politics? I've been offered, and have you seen how they treat politicians? I write a political column, and I read politics at university, and I'm involved with lots of things in Parliament, but I wouldn't want to go in and be an MP. The decision really came about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 2010, when getting ready for the 2012 election, the list was open, and I told my grandmother I'm going to send my form in, and she said, "Why do you want that headache?" That was it. That's all she said. She could really get to the point. And she said, "Why do you want that headache?" So that was it. Forget it. And I think they need good people, but they're not going to get them the way you're ripped apart. Sunak or Twas? I don't know. It's a month to go yet. You know, I think what's more interesting between those two people is really the economic argument. And here's one for you. Is it better in a high inflationary environment to go for growth by reducing taxes, or will that fuel greater inflation? So what's the exit plan? Does growth trump inflation, or is controlling inflation more important than growth, and we should have lower taxes when inflation's so high? The economists will say to you, higher taxes, higher interest rates, with the exception of very few economists. And a few might say, no. Like in the 1980s, they said supply side, doesn't matter if inflation's high, and just reduce taxes and reduce interest rates. Okay. Do you accept any degree? I have a history and politics degree from UCL. My assistant had an English literature degree from UCL, and she now manages about 10 billion at Polar Capital. So she worked for me for 2 years, then went to Newton. Now she works at Polar, and she was an English literature graduate from UCL and a part-time opera singer. She's a fund manager now. Fund management is something which anybody can learn. What's your opinion about Inflation Reduction Bill and the US government printing more money? When has the US government not printed more money for any period longer than a couple of years? So it's always been printing more money. Well, printing more money is such an awful phrase because it's not actually intellectually accurate. It's not doing quantitative easing of the scale it was doing previously. What it's doing at the moment is obviously borrowing more money from the Japanese and from domestic pension funds. It's really Americans owe money back to themselves. You know, when people say, "Oh, I don't want to pass on my debt to my children." Well, actually, when a government borrows money, on the whole, it tends to borrow it from its own citizens. The way it does it is its own citizens have their money in pension plans, and the pensions say, "We'll lend the money to the government," and the government gives them the money, and it helps your pension. So actually, they're just paying you back or your children back in the future. So I'm not so much worried about that. Quantitative easing was a bit more of a problem because what they were doing is clicking a button on a computer and it was actually literally creating more money. But the problem with that was that money wasn't being transmitted to the people who needed it. It was being transmitted to banks, and the banks were entrusted with giving the right people the money to create growth, because the feeling was, well, banks won't mess it up, will they? So the banks were entrusted to give it to small businesses, for instance, which all is fine and good as long as the small businesses are trustworthy and work really hard. Obviously, a certain number will go bust. Sadly, 90% of businesses go bust in 3 years. So giving it to banks to give to people was sort of outsourcing it almost to the wrong people to solve the problem of when you print money. Because actually what you wanted to do was, as what John Maynard Keynes said, airdrop it from a helicopter and just spread it widely. Instead, they gave it to a small group of people. Great. What's your opinion on Bill Ackman? Something I don't understand about Bill Ackman. If you read and a friend of mine, she sits on as a non-exec director on his UK company, Pershing Square Holdings, which is in the FTSE 100. She was, when I had my show on Bloomberg Television, she was UK head of Bloomberg, and Bronwyn Curtis, and she sits on the UK board. The only thing I don't understand is you get the big headlines, Bill Ackman, oh, he picked Netflix, it's crashed. actually everything else has gone up according to all the figures, and he's making money all the time. So I don't quite understand how the loss-making stuff always makes the headlines. Either the media's out to get him, or there's something I just don't get about how he seems to be making money, but not making money. I don't know. I've not looked into stuff. My G friends with Rishi, quantitative easing helped private equity firms and asset holders. Yeah, well, it created a boom. So obviously it boosted our asset values. Anybody who had assets, it went up. That's what greater liquidity did. Why did Berkshire Hathaway make such massive losses recently? I've not looked at their most recent holdings. So let me have a look at that. How can I contact you to be my mentor for Oxbridge? There's links in the bio. I get a lot of people asking me to help them with their applications into Oxford and so on. There's links in the bio. You'll find my email, contact me, contact my firm, LinkedIn or whatever. Please make a case, though, why I should help you. I will more likely to help you if you come from a state school. If you don't have a privileged background, if you come to me and say, well, my parents are billionaires and I come from Eton, you're going to go closer to the bottom of the list than somebody who says, you know what, single parent, blah, 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 bottom of the social pile, let's put it that way. It doesn't sound too abusive. I'm more likely to want to help you, obviously, you know, so I'm happy to help. But if you could make a case, please, like for anything else. I bought in heavily on the SBUCs and Intel, great. Not looked into that. Thoughts on early stage venture capital? I've looked at this before. I mean, I guess all of venture capital is pretty much early stage, otherwise it becomes private equity. It could be good for a job. I've got a website which has got a list of all the UK, actually all the European venture capital firms. Have a look at tech2great.com, tech2great.com, and on the funding page. And that'll help you find a whole bunch of VC firms in case you're looking to apply for jobs. You can go to their websites and see who's hiring as well. What do your Sunday afternoons look like in regards to getting ready for the week? So let me give you an example of what this Sunday afternoon looked like and what most of my Sunday afternoons look like. So today I went for a walk with my son along the waterside, and most Sunday afternoons are pushing him in a swing. I should explain, he's 4 years old, not 40. But really your question is, what did they look like when you were in your 20s? And I'm afraid to say, when I was in my 20s, and I don't advise this necessarily, because I don't know, well, I reap benefits of it. I used to work pretty much, I'd have a break from 4 till 7, it felt like, on a Sunday, and the rest of the time I was just working. So I don't recommend that. I used to work sometimes till 4 a.m. I used to think 10 p.m. was like sort of pre-start, and then midnight was the start of my, you know, next day. And honestly, it's not the way to go. It'll destroy your health, it'll destroy your life. But I've reaped the benefits of that kind of crazy working, in that I don't have to do anything I don't want to do anymore. There's an old picture a friend of mine sent me, and it's not, he's actually downstairs, he's coming up in a minute, which was work now like others don't want to, so you can live like others wish they could later on. It's not that uneloquent, but it's something like that. I did that, and how can I say to somebody, hey, you know what you should do? Work 24 hours a day like I did in your 20s. I didn't mind, because I loved what I was doing, which was investing and just researching that stuff and so on. What are some skills you found lead you to your success? What are they found? Were they found in university? No, I'll tell you the secret of success, okay? One is luck. You're not going to be able to do much about that. So how do you create your own luck? And by the way, Side Business School, the Dean of Side Business School, I just interviewed 2 weeks ago, and I asked him, tell me some uncommon wisdom, things people don't know, because you've been to a business school, you're head of a business school, you see all these MBAs who are going out in the world and they think they're the best in the world because you were at Cornell, now you're at Oxford Business School and you're the Dean. So tell me something people don't know. And do you know what he said? He said, luck. He goes, they're all come in, they're planning their lives, and I tell them, relax. So much is going to be down to luck. So then I said to him, well, how do I create my own luck then? Okay. And he said, well, you go out there, you network, you meet people. And networking nowadays doesn't mean all those meetings where people look down on you because you're in your 20s and think, oh, you can't be important, I want to speak to you. It means writing stuff, communicating. So secrets of success, luck. But how do you improve it? Improve your communication skills, written and verbal. Improve your communication skills. And you know how to do that. You can watch your YouTube videos, you can get the books. Use your imagination. How the hell would you learn? How would you solve the problem of improving your communication skills, written and verbal? If you can't solve that problem, and problem solving is the key to success in life, Everything is figure-outable, as a lady in America who's very big on social media said. It's a brilliant title. Everything is figure-outable. If you can't figure that out, you don't want it badly enough. Come on, how to improve your communication skills. Let me ask you this, let me turn it around. When I have my employees come to me with something, I say to them, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions. Then come to me and say, oh, Alpesh, how do I improve my communication skills? Come to me with 10 solutions. Come on, use your brain. You know, research has found people hate thinking. They hate thinking. They hate being bored and they hate thinking. They hate being bored, so they're always on their phone. They don't like thinking. Okay, they would rather go to a funeral to a close relative than think. So think 10 ways you can improve your communication skills. Come on, you live in a world of YouTube and TED Talks and you can't figure out, and bookstores, Amazon, you can't figure out how to improve your communication skills? Practice. Read speeches. Watch videos of Barack Obama delivering speeches as well. Rishi or Liz, as I said earlier on, I think it really comes down to, forget the two individuals, but in terms of economic policy, what do you think would be better for the United Kingdom? Which economic policy? Lower taxes or keep them at they are, a slightly higher tax rate? What would be better for inflation, growth, medium and long term, short, medium and long term? Do you have an online mentorship scheme? I do. Links are in the bio. Links are in the bio. What's been the most influential book you've ever read? 2 books. One, John Stuart Mill's On Liberty. Absolutely blew my mind, and then I understood exactly why Western liberal democracies are the way they are, and why it's the right way, why I don't like communism, and I don't like theocracies. So John Stuart Mill, On Liberty. And the other one, I happen to be Hindu, the Bhagavad Gita, taught me about detachment. So work hard, but the fruits of the labor, they don't belong to me. They're in the hands of somebody else. Detachment, equanimity. What pays more? I give an annual talk at Oxford University on leadership skills from the Bhagavad Gita. I found it useful. Good to great, best business book out there. Yeah, I think it's a good one. I think it's a good one. I think you're right. Opinions on cost of living. Here's the problem with cost of living crisis. Are you a grandmother who has very little sources of income and has to decide on whether to keep the heating on this winter or get fed? You're probably not. You're probably somebody who's talking to me on a Samsung phone or an iPhone and has got addicted to a certain standard of living, and you don't even buy that pint of milk that you think has gone up in price, but it bugs you that it's gone up in price because everybody says it's gone up in price. You may well have to cut back on a holiday or not have one at all. But we've become entitled to these things, and we think, therefore, if energy prices have gone up and we've got to cut back on a holiday, that's a tragedy. No, ask your parents what's a tragedy. Ask your parents' parents, your grandparents, who were probably the greatest generation if they fought in the Second World War. What is a tragedy? So the tragedy is somebody who doesn't have enough money for food. That's a tragedy. Okay? Somebody who can't have a holiday or has to switch from avocados to carrots, that's not a tragedy, and I don't have sympathy for it, I'm afraid. It's the people who don't have money to put food on the table. They're the ones I want to help. But by the way, speaking of which, I'm chairman of the Lumbar Trust, which is a charity which helps widows and orphans, and I have been for the last 15 years. Our patrons, you're not going to like this, our patrons include David Cameron and Tony Blair. Hate me from both sides if you wish, but supports widows and orphans. Those are the ones you need to worry about. Okay, we've had one of the biggest booms in post-war economic history. Everyone's just become so used to having lots of money. Okay, listen guys, I'm going to go because I've got my wife and everyone else over there, and I'm going to go now. I've got to do a bit of washing up. No, I don't have to do any washing up, so I'm going to get going. So thank you all very much for being here, and I will see you possibly tomorrow. Thank you all. Sorry that I've come in too late. If you've come in too late, have a look at the links in the bio for the internship, for my best favorite books, for elements and advice on success that I'd give. My TED Talk will be on there somewhere through my YouTube channel very soon as well. Hi from Dubai. My friends are over here from Dubai as well. So thank you all very much. Have a look at all of that and get in touch with me if you want through the links in the bio. there's also free material, including free downloads of my Financial Times books on there as well. So thank you all very much. Loads of questions, I know. I'll try and do another one of these either later tonight or